I am Alex Brock.
And I'm Lavender Allen.
And we are the Rock'em Sock'em Panda Bears.
Yep. That's
and,
true.
And we're going to talk about the design process that brought us to the wonderful game of Some Beach, which is opposite of what you can read there.
It's
but
weird.
we promise the other way.
It does
makes
read
Some Beach. So we actually made two other games
first
before we made this game. But the first thing we did to make sure was that we completely destroyed the deck box. We thought that was the greatest course of action to take with first. This is what remains of that. So judges, you will have to do this too. The first game we designed was actually using a board like this. And people started here, and then they moved in the different spots like that in order to manage like the stock market and
nuclear waste.
Yep, and the environment. All the while, there's like a robotic Cylon-like trader, and the detective is one of the roles, trying to figure out who he is. And then, why don't you talk about this? We didn't want to use that game because it was kind of fiddly and it didn't exactly feel fun. It just didn't really pop. And you want to talk about the second game?
The second game was kind of a spin-off of an element we had in this game. And that was supposed to be a social game where people would get, each player would get a card, and that card would have a certain clue as to how you were supposed to answer a question. And then it would be slightly off, and then there would be a traitor, replicant, because that was the
right. Everybody so your roll card would have different colors, or your little answer key. To answer each other's questions, and one, it might talk about that says you must answer, it must be about mammals, but for the android it might just be about animals, so he wouldn't catch it, that he wasn't supposed, if he mentioned reptiles, then everybody else would know he's an android, and it was timed, and then the android was supposed to figure out it was him, and to try and hide himself while everybody else is trying to figure out who it was and get him. But the android wouldn't know that he was the android at first.
Yeah. I don't know.
But we, in all those games, we tried to use a mechanic right away that we had found.
Oh, yes.
If you'll notice, part of this is missing. A little cover here. Because the first thing we did was take this off, and then
that was initially what we wanted it for. Why we took it apart, we were like, let's use the magnet because we should.
Right. Yeah. We took the magnetic part and the metal part here, and we ended up using it. We folded the cards in half, and then put a piece of metal in there. We cut this part into 6 different parts, and then cut the slab from here that was attached to here in a strip, so that it was like this. And let's find one of these things. Alright, so it can actually pick it up like that for when you scan the beach.
Originally what we were going to use that for was to as a way to detect if you were the traitor or the robot in the other games, I don't know. Yeah. It's just like a thing, but it just worked really well with the beach or with the treasure theme because
you using a metal detector to find something that actually works. And, the other two really interesting things I felt that we added to the game was a communal deck building idea, where deck building games is usually you're in your own thing and you're just trying to buy things faster than everybody else. and like there'll be 5 of those things. So you're like, I can get one of those. I just have to worry about like getting 2 or 3.
And that's why, and it kind of fit together. Like everything, when we were making this game, we started off with a general idea, like we wanted to use the magnet and the metal and hide the cards. We knew that we wanted that, and so we kind of tried to we asked ourselves a bunch of questions, like, well, what would happen if this was a game? Like, what would this game have? And I think that helped us a lot. Like, I mean, there was a lot of ideas that didn't make the cut, like just random stuff. But it kind of just all fell together and came up with some of each.
Yep.
Do you want to talk about why? I think we should talk about why we have the distribution the way it is.
Oh, for the patterns we have in the decks, we have 2 decks that have each of the 3 kinds of treasure, and then so there's 2 of each of them in there, and then for the other 3 decks, there's 3 of a particular treasure, 2 of one, and then 0 of the other one.
Originally, we started out with 5 different tools. Do you remember?
Yep.
When we first see it.
But we just wanted to start off with 3 once we started playing, and that just ended up working the best. We had originally planned. We made the game and the cards and everything worked well. There's almost no mechanical changes from the initial. Yeah. And we thought of another idea, but we didn't want to add it in to add more fiddly bits. But we ended up having some like dead cards, like people just getting a card and like, oh, I'll never use this even if I draw it and I have all my actions. So we took those cards out and added the idea where we have these negative cards, so that when someone buys something, they they can put it in their hand if it's a good thing, or beside their character if it's a treasure. But the negative card is good because you can put it on top of the deck, so the person who goes next is gonna draw it, and it's gonna be bad for them. But also, you have to worry about it still because
now it's in the deck,
right?
Because it's a community,
right?
Community deck. And then it added. What I really liked, and I think what's just what kind of led us to that. There was the dead cards, the cards like the towel. Nobody ever used it. But we were playtesting, and we had people say, can you possibly do this in the game? Like, is this a possibility? And they hadn't, seen it. And we were just like, how? Yeah. It just has to happen.
Yeah, other people were already like, well, what if there were negative cards there? Like,
we just felt like,
we thought of it, but we wanted to add it later and stuff. But it fits now. We tested it and it works fine. So
I had so much fun doing all this.
Oh yeah, everything just fell into place perfectly. Like there's no struggling. There was no how do we do this? It was just like a big list of steps, and I don't know, like when you build IKEA furniture and I don't know, when it's not frustrating, when you just put it together and oh cool, I'm making something. I'm continuing to make all the things, and then I made it, and then it's great and awesome.
I mean, that was one of the things I kept trying to do was use all of the pieces, everything, and I thought that it would be, I was a little worried that the box of components, oh no, what if we don't have something we might want, and it turned out that it was there was so much that we didn't use, and we kept trying to implement it, but we wanted to go for something simple and quick, and this.
Yep, the games have ranged from 15 minutes to 30, so it's been really good. So we bent the cards in half because the other alternative was we couldn't just glue the metal on there because you shuffle it, it would fall off.
Yeah.
And we couldn't take 2 cards and put them together because that would severely cut our card count.
By 50.
Yes, by 50%. And that would have really sucked. But bending them like this kind of makes it a little harder to see. But it's not that bad. the print's still big.
And it's so basic. Like
Yeah.
the mechanics in it are just so easy to understand. I think it's a little, it's different than anything I've ever played. Like it's, but it feels familiar.
Right. Yes. And we haven't had any complaints about the smaller
Right.
cards and stuff.
The
So
learning curve is,
I mean,
you know.
it probably won't have to be smaller cards, but that was neat to see.
So I guess thank you for
Yeah.
letting us do this. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. We already this feels, I don't know, weird because we already did all this and then we had finished. We had already made these videos and everything, and we but then we had made the decision to make the change for
Yeah.
that. So we're like, oh, we gotta make our videos again to incorporate that, because in the last video we had said we wanted it to we were like, oh, a future expansion like this would be a cool idea, and like I'm excited that it's actually part of the game. So we wanted to talk about that. We wanted to add that in our discussion of the the design process, because I mean that was a huge step in itself. I like this game
Me too.
a lot.
Yeah. I really like it. Everybody we played with has had fun with it. Some people were like, "Oh wow, this is a lot better than I was expecting."
Yeah, I didn't think it would be as good. As
But yeah, it's just been a whole lot of positive the whole way, and we really appreciate the opportunity.
Yes. All right. So we hope you guys enjoyed the game as much as we do, and as much as we enjoyed making the game. And we can't wait to see what everyone else has got cooked up.